Hi, everybody, and welcome to El Camino People, the podcast. With this new episode, we have an incredible pilgrim with an incredible adventure, and with a different point of view from the Camino. That's the beauty of the Camino, that it's all about the people, it's all about different experience, and we hope that this new story can encourage some of you to go and walk the Camino. So let me introduce you to my friend now, Mattea. Thank you so much for joining us, and thank you for I'm like, all of these things happening, and tell us a little bit, where are you now and why are you there?
Hi, Jose. Good morning. Thank you so much for having me. You're calling me in Mexico, where I am meeting up with my Camino friends, and it was
Like, what are
two
the
days
chances
ago. Two
of
days
this? It's
ago,
just
it was
incredible.
exactly 1 year that we started Camino. So yeah, having this a little 1 year anniversary celebration.
Sometimes I'm like, you can think, the Camino is like, thing happens. I was interviewing another pilgrim the other day, and she met a friend of mine that is a priest here. I'm like, what are the
Yeah,
chances of this happening? Like, what are the chances that me contacting you about a couple of weeks ago, and what are the chances of doing the interview right now when you're in Mexico visiting your Camino friends? I'm like, the Camino is just weird in so
exactly.
many.
Camino magic never stops.
I know, and that's something that the people that walk like you and I, we know it, and I'm like, with the Camino family, I'm like, I bet you travel all over the world. Anyone that can check your Instagram, I'm like, you've been all over. But having family all over the world and knowing that you can go and visit your Camino family all over is something that is just incredible. It's magic.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, if somebody told me a year ago I'll be in a Mexico in a beach with friends that I've met in Spain, I don't know, I wouldn't believe it.
Yeah, I will bet against the Jeff. Same here. So I was asked the same question. Where are you from? Usually to get us a little background, and how did you find out about the Camino de Santiago?
I live in Croatia, and I think the first time I heard about Camino was when I was about 13 years old. My dad brought a book from the library. I don't even remember which book it was, but it was a book about Camino.
Uh-huh.
And it was around the house. I just grabbed it and started reading. And I don't know, the moment I read the book, I knew that eventually at some point I will go. But as I said, I was 13 at the moment, so it wasn't happening in any near future.
Yeah, near son.
And like 12 years after, it was the right moment.
So, how's the Camino in Croatia? Do a lot of your friends have walked the Camino? Is something that is a local thing, is getting more common, or is it still something
No,
undiscovered?
I personally don't know anyone who did Camino. Only one. She used to work for her, but we're also kind of friends. But she did the Portuguese route, so she
Okay,
was the only. My boss was the only person I knew that did Camino.
the only one in your whole around of friends,
Yeah,
coworkers, anybody. So, still a
yeah,
new thing over there in Croatia.
very new. Yeah, even when I was
Great.
telling people I'm doing Camino, almost nobody knew what it was
Nobody
about.
knew about it. That's incredible. That's one of the things that surprised me. A lot of people that are like, but everyone knows about the Camino. I'm like, not even. Also, here in Spain, there's still people that don't have any idea
Oh,
about what the Camino de Santiago is.
yeah, no, it's not really a thing back home.
So how did you decide it, and why did you decide it a year ago to walk the Camino?
To be honest, there wasn't any specific reason. Like everything was right. I was waiting, at, like I
Mhm.
told you, 13 years, and I just knew that this was the time. Like this is when I need to go. So I was curious to see why I needed to go at that moment. But it wasn't like something happened or I had
Yeah, I was
a
just planning.
specific situation. No, I just felt it's the right time to do it now.
Perfect. And how did you decide to do the Camino Frances? I'm like, knowing about your friends Camino Portuguese with all, did you do a lot of research, or were you one of those just, I'm just gonna do the
To be
typical Camino
honest,
Frances?
exactly. No, that was the first Camino I heard of was the Camino Frances, and then obviously with researching, I figured out there are more routes. But no, this was the one that was calling me.
Were you the kind of pilgrim that plans everything ahead, or were you like, I'm gonna go to St. John, just one flight, and whatever happens, happens. I have the time.
Yeah, exactly. No, no, I'm definitely not the pilgrim that plans everything. The only thing I had planned is a train ticket to come to San John, and that was about it.
That's it. Not even the albergue in St. John.
Albergue in San John, yeah, I booked it on the way there because I started
Okay.
freaking out that I'll be sleeping on the street. But that was the only one that I booked in advance.
It is
From
funny
there
that you
on,
mentioned that, because yesterday there were a lot of people in St. John, at least that's what I've been told, that sleeping on the street like this. September has picked up a lot during the summer. We've seen that the Camino Frances has dropped the numbers a lot, but now it seems like September, October are kind of like the peak, I think, with the heat wave that we have the summer and everything. So
exactly.
makes sense. So how was your arrival? Suddenly you are coming from Croatia, something that is totally unknown, and there you are in France, surrounded by probably a lot of pilgrims, but not many. We're still, 2021, so during the COVID, a still weird
Yeah.
year. So how was the feeling of being there?
No, the feeling was incredible. Already in the train, I was like, "Oh my gosh, what have I done?" Freaking out, and it was all becoming real, you know. And then when we got off at the last station, there was only pilgrims obviously left in the train because it's not a, many people go visit San John. So I know we were getting off the train, and already in those first couple minutes, I was talking with people, meeting everybody. We were all going to same albergas. So from the moment one, like the Camino already started. You know, it didn't start with the walking the next day, but already
Mhm.
on the train.
And as you can see, you've been all over the world, Greece. I'm like, if you check your Instagram, it's like, yeah, one of those persons I don't want to follow, just, get so jealous. But you've been traveling. When you plan for the Camino, have you ever done anything hiking like that, such a long trail or such a hiking trip, or was something new?
No, to be honest, nothing similar. Camino was very unique, very, very unique experience for me. I travel a lot, like you said, I've been to like 30 something countries, I believe, so far, but all of
Mhm.
that was a very different type of traveling. Camino is,
And how
I don't
did you
know.
plan for something like this? I'm like, did you research a lot on the Instagram? Did you research on YouTube, whatever?
No, for Camino, I really didn't do any research because that summer I was working in a summer camp and I came home end of August and in like 5 days I was already traveling to Camino, so I didn't have any time to even
Whatever in
plan.
the backpack and go.
Exactly, I went shopping for all the gear I need, and next day I was on the train, so it was really not planned.
So then you start, you arrive in St. John. Finally, everybody says that when you get to St. John is when you get that like pilgrim, like a slap in the face. Suddenly you are a pilgrim. You see all these weird people that look at you. Then you look at them. You want to start a conversation, but you're so afraid. I'm like, yeah, where do I fit in? It's for me, it's one of the most funny places because you see people looking at each other without knowing who is with who, trying to find a place. And also when you travel by yourself and you did the Camino by yourself. So if you go with a group, it's different. But how was the whole thing of St. John? Meeting people.
Well, I always, most of the time, I travel alone. So for me, that wasn't, I really enjoyed it, and for me, it wasn't something that new. But I was also
Mhm.
very lucky that on the first day, already in the Pyrenees, I met a girl from Croatia, and she was already hanging with the Mexicans that became my friends. So from the day one, we became a group that walked the whole Camino together, and nobody
Already on
believed
day
us.
one.
From day one to day 31, it was the same people around me, and nobody believed us that all the way along, that all the way we got well so well along. So yeah, we were the same people with me from day one till the last day of Camino.
That's amazing. My Camino family, my first Camino was also I met part of them on day one. I guess it was right when we get to the Virgin in Horizon, Paso Horizon. But what do you think? A lot of people when we talk about the first day, they think, oh, Horizon is a killer, it's too strong, it's too hard. What do you think?
I mean, like I told you, I don't know. I didn't have this. It was all very spontaneous, so it
Mhm.
wasn't like
Do you
planned.
have
Oh,
any idea what you were expecting?
exactly. If I walked all the way alone, I would also be fine with that. I didn't have any expectations that I have to meet someone
Uh-huh.
or what kind of people I want to meet. For me, whatever Camino brings me was the way it should be because I think that everybody's Camino is very different. So I wasn't trying to follow anybody's story, that it has mine
Yeah.
has to be the same.
And I think that's the beautiful part, sometimes happens, sometimes doesn't happen. I guess if you do the Camino Frances, usually always, you surround yourself with a group of more family, less family, but you're always in 30 days gonna find someone that you kind of like gravitate around. But and do you think the first day is as hard as people say it, the going up to Roncesvalles or not?
Physically, it is challenging, but I think that all the adrenaline of the Camino, it just you
Hmm.
fly. But I was commenting with my friends, if that was like day 5 or day 10, I don't know how I would do it. But the first day, the excitement and the adrenaline just keeps you going. So, I think everyone can do it.
I agree with you. I think the first day is the beauty, and also it gives a lot of meaning to the whole Camino, the suffering, the going. So it makes you go so slow that focus you and talk to people, meeting people. The faster will pass you, but the slower will be there. Then you have only really few spots to stop, and everybody also the next day, everybody has to stop in Roncesvalles. Very few people continue, so the whole pilgrim community is there.
Yeah, yeah.
And
No,
how was the arrival to Roncesvalles? I'm like, you've been traveling, but suddenly, Saint John is one thing, but when you get to Roncesvalles, it's like when you are like, okay, I'm a pilgrim now. I smell all these people are around here. I get to need to go to an albergue. I need to figure out a place to eat. There's this pilgrim mass that they talk about. There's all these people that know each other but don't know each other yet. So,
Yeah, it's very enjoyable. It's a completely new feeling. Like you said, you cannot compare it to any other traveling. I mean, hostels are kind of similar, but we're all there for different reasons. On Camino, you're all with
mhm,
this group of people that have the same goal. I really enjoyed it. I don't need much when I'm traveling. I always try to do it as minimalistic as I can. So for me,
mhm.
albergues were really not a problem. It was like a nice place to stay with everybody that you can meet and that has something in common. So I really liked it.
And then you start going to Pamplona. A lot of people they say, and I think that the first day you were saying, you go with adrenaline. But then the second day to Zubiri, that's usually where a lot of people, they don't talk on YouTube, they don't talk on Instagram, but usually that's the hard day.
Zubir, yeah, Zubir was maybe well the second most difficult day for me because by the time we got there, I was physically very 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 exhausted already with
Mhm.
blisters. And the thing when we got there, there was no accommodation. As
Wow.
I told you, we really didn't plan anything in advance. And I really felt like I cannot do one more meter and not like I don't know how many kilometers were left to get to Pamplona. I don't remember. Like another 20, and I was like, no way, I'm gonna
20,
sleep
20
under
something,
this
yes.
bridge. I don't care. And in the end, like with the help of good people, we managed. We also had to separate because there were no enough spaces in one albergue. But like as we separated, we managed to find a bed. Like you said, it was still COVID time, so the thing is, in most albergues, they wouldn't let you sleep on the top bunk. So we
Hmm.
had to ask a special permission for whoever was sleeping on the bottom one if they're okay with us sleeping on the top one,
Yeah.
because it was kind of against the rules still. So that's how
Yeah.
we found the accommodation. But yeah, like you said, the first day, the second day compared to the first one, for me was much more difficult.
Yeah, the first day you go with adrenaline and this and it's hard. You go up and then you go down, and I don't know which way did you took down when you get down. You go through the road or you get through the forest, the really steep forest one.
To the forest, but not not willingly. It was a mistake.
I have to say that it's more beautiful. I think it's more beautiful, but it is much harder on your knees and on your
Yeah.
body. For that one, going with I hate walking with poles. I've never done it, so I don't know why I hate it, but I never done it. But if you want to try, and if you have some kind of issues, just take the road on the right side, and it will be much easier. But Camino provides always for a reason.
Exactly.
So then you start going, you go to Pamplona, first city, and then you go to the Alto de Perdón. How was the Camino at that point? Were you expecting that kind of feeling? Were you expecting that kind of like, family, all those, or what was the feeling?
Yeah, getting to a bigger city was a lot different because before that, San Juan and Roncesvalles are very tiny places, and then you get to kind of a big city, and I mean now you're officially in Spain, right? You can
Mhm.
experience culture, you can see the locals, you can taste the food and everything. So I have to say, I equally enjoyed being in the big cities and in the nature. It was good to take a break, from every now and then from being completely isolated from
Mhm.
everything that's going on outside of Camino. But yeah, it was nice. We went after we arrived. We went for a walk to explore a little. So yeah, I mean, I like both.
And was that the Camino experience? You're already on your day three, four. So was it what you expected? Was that because I think, but that day is when you realize, like, oh, this is what people talk about the Camino. I think a lot of people they still, and we don't know what is this, what is gonna like. But I think when you start feeling that kind of like weird thing, oh, this is something cool.
I mean, I fell in love with Camino from the very first second I was there, and it was everything that I imagined and much more. So I don't know. By day three, it was like, yeah, I'm here, and this is it. I mean, there was no doubt.
And what do you think, if you've been traveling, as you were saying, all over, what is the difference of traveling, by yourself to visit these places or whatever, to travel and doing the Camino? What are the main differences?
Well, the Camino as an idea for me was completely different. As I think I'll never ever be able to compare any other traveling to that.
Hmm.
Not even if I do another walking route, because Camino really has a special spirit and story behind it. But I don't know, when you travel, it's more about going to see places and meet locals, and I don't know, the type of encounters are very different.
Hmm.
Here,
Yeah.
you're already surrounded by people that are doing the same thing as you, and it's kind of maybe easier to connect and easier to find some similarities between those people and you.
And then, when you keep going, one of the things we say, you always broke the Camino in different chunks. You have the first part that you walk, people say that you walk, happiest when you discover, when you walk with your body. But suddenly you get to the Meseta. And that's a place, a lot of people and in forums, they start discussing like, if I feel tired, so I skip the Meseta. You were saying that you would have blisters. How did you, recover bodily, your blisters? Were you suffering by the time you get to the Meseta? Were you thinking any day about quitting, taking a bus, or was there something that was never in the picture?
Well, now this is weird. Meseta was absolutely my favorite part of Camino. And I know I read before that a lot of people quit or take a bus or
Mhm.
they're bored. And the whole time I was walking Meseta, I was thinking how, and I was really trying to understand. But for me, it was the most like beauty of nothingness. Like as far as you can
Yeah.
see, there is nothing, and there was so much beauty in this simplicity that once you see it, you cannot unsee it. So I really couldn't understand why someone doesn't like it. And for the body, it was definitely the easiest part to walk. My feet was already, like I said, I was full of blisters in the first days, but at that point, I was already kind of used, numb to
Mhm.
pain, I guess. So for me, it's all like straight. So I don't know, it's not challenging physically to walk. So for me, those days were just pure enjoying. There was no effort to put. It was just like, yeah, doing the Camino.
Yeah, I agree. A lot of people they think, that, even I'm a runner, I do marathons and stuff like that, but even I do have blisters sometimes in the Camino. The backpack is heavy and you have the marks of the backpack and you have pain. I'm like, everybody on the first week is gonna go through that. It takes a while to your body to cover and also to get used to that. And I agree with you. I'm like the meseta for me is one of the most beautiful parts of the Camino. Without the meseta, it's like the Camino lost, at least doing the whole Frances, lost the meaning.
Yeah, exactly. The thing with the blisters is that I made a huge mistake, which I kind of knew was gonna happen. I bought my shoes for Camino like 2 months before going, and I was
Okay.
sure that for those 2 months I'm gonna wear them every day and they're gonna be
Hmm.
well, they're gonna be ready. And then, like I told you, that summer I spent working in a summer camp, and temperatures in summer in Croatia are like 38, 39 degrees.
Wow.
So I wore those shoes either once or top twice.
Yeah.
And of course, they were brand new shoes by the time I started doing the Camino, which is the biggest mistake that a pilgrim can make, and
Hmm.
I was aware of that. So already on the first day, like I told you, I got blisters. So the rest of my Camino, starting from day two, I walked in my chanclitas, my sandals.
The flip flops,
Uh,
yeah.
yeah, like a flip flops, exactly. So for another 30 days, I was walking in the flip
You
flops.
walk on that all the time, on
Yeah,
sandals,
that's
flip
what I
flops.
walked, rain, sun, heels, everything. And everyone thought I was a little crazy when they saw me, but I really enjoyed it like that.
I'm just looking at a picture here. I'm like, yeah, yeah. I'm like, you were in, that's,
Yeah,
but
indulge.
a lot of people that they do it on sandals, some of the teba, I'm like, some of people, I have even seen pilgrims doing barefoot. So if you are used to, that's one of the things that I've always tried, and I know I'm sometimes a little too, too focused on that. Is your
Yeah,
Camino. Some people go great with boots. Usually it's not the best thing because the summer, super hot and whatever doesn't let your feet breathe. But
yeah,
if you have ankle problems or whatever, boots are perfect. If you have sandals and you're used to that, that's amazing and they will work. But it's just finding an
yeah,
average pilgrim, any hiking, running, trail runner that is light and breathable, that's the perfect usually suit for everyone. But again, that's the average, but everyone is different. So for you, it worked perfect with the sandals.
yeah.
With
I mean,
socks or no socks?
socks, of course.
Of course.
Yeah, and I figured like people spend so much time researching, trying to find the perfect equipment and spending a lot of money.
Mhm.
And a lot of people, that's the perfect excuse. No, I don't have enough money to invest in a gear or to whatever. And in the end, Camino can be so plain that you walk in a flip flops and you do it anyway. So if you really want, I mean, there is nothing that can stop you.
And that's also, I think, right now, we have, at least in Europe, you have here Decathlon that you can have really good, hiking shoes and hiking gear
Yeah,
for a really good price. You don't have to go for a big brand. If you're going to use it, you're a normal hiker, invest because that, they're going to last you better. And of course, they have better support. But if just something that you try, as you say, there's no excuse to go to the Camino backpack. You can get a backpack of 30 euros, shoes the same for 30 euros. You can get something that allows you to walk. And I think that's one of the beauties also. The Camino is easy and everyone can really afford at least to go for a little bit to the Camino.
yeah.
So how was it? You were saying that you were having your Camino family of three. Did you, I'm like in this year, was there many Camino people? Were there people that tried to join your family or were you just the three of you, just kind of like the perfect group and you were all together all the way?
Well, on some different parts, some other people did join. It was couple of us that stayed together from day one.
Hmm.
But there was also a girl from Slovakia that joined us every now and then, which is still one of the most important people for me on the Camino, although she wasn't with us all the time. Like I
Uh-huh.
told you, the Croatian girl that I meet on the first day, but we separated along the way. There were some people from Germany, Lithuania, I mean, from all over the world, and then we share a couple of days together, and then we part the ways. But me and the Mexicans, we walked the whole Camino together.
It's so funny. Were you able to have that kind of like the pilgrim dinner? So during this year, where the kitchens and albergues mostly closed, and you will have to go to bars and restaurants.
No, everything was working normally. Menú del día every day. So everything was, yeah, it was like Camino should be. All the albergues, we stayed in albergues all the nights, and we ate in the pilgrim places all the time. So there was no
That's
need to
amazing.
eat at the restaurants or anything.
Was this the first time for you in Spain, or have you ever been in Spain before?
No, I've been to Spain before. I visited Madrid, Toledo, Barcelona, and I think that's it.
So the main
But
ones, you haven't never been in the places that you were in the Camino.
no, yeah, it was completely different. I mean, of course, you cannot compare the little pueblitos that you pass with a big city like Barcelona. But yeah, I really enjoyed it because it was the same country, but a whole new experience.
So that's my question was about. I'm like, in the Camino, that's I think one of the beautiful things of the Camino Frances that allows you to be in nature, allows you time to think to yourself, but also this, the cultural aspect. You have cities like Burgos, León, Pamplona, Logroño, and you also have all those little villages that have so much to see. I'm like, for you, coming from someone that has traveled so many places, how was the Camino, and all that cultural aspects? I'm like, how did you do? Because a lot of people, when they come to Spain at the end, they arrive to the albergue and they do nothing. I'm always trying to encourage people, visit the town, maybe not go to a museum, but try to visit the church, get a little of the local history there.
Of course, every time we arrived, the first thing after getting the food was exploring. But also I think about first 10 days, there was a friend, I have a friend from Spain. He also speaks Croatian. And we met while
Wow.
he was traveling in Croatia, and we stayed in touch for years. So he joined me for Camino to do the first couple days with me. So he's a local, so he was in every place. Or along the way, he was explaining me everything. So had a kind of like a personal guide for that the 2 weeks or so. So that definitely added a whole new level to the Camino.
So what were your favorite days of the Camino, in terms of the whole distance still you were like, if you have to choose perfect days or perfect cities, what were the ones that you were more surprised about it?
Oh my gosh. Regarding like the intensity of emotions, the first and the last day are definitely
That's, yeah,
important.
totally.
But then all of them in between were amazing as well. I don't know. Like every day had different signals, different stories, different encounters. And for me, that's the point of Camino. So every day had a little something.
That's incredible. And then suddenly, as we were saying, you start passing the meseta, then you feel the arrival into Galicia, everything changes, the weather changes. You have the first super steep up to Monte Cerreiro, and then you start feeling that you're almost there. How was the feeling, after so long walk, also the COVID, and then like, oh, this is almost over.
A very bittersweet. In a way, you're really proud and you're getting there and you're almost done. But on the other hand, you really don't want it to end. At that point, you're
Hmm.
so into that and you really accepted that as a lifestyle and you're enjoying so much. And for me, it was really, for like 3 days in advance, I was crying. The Camino is ending. We were not even in Santiago yet. So very bittersweet.
And how was the arrival to Santiago?
Oh, very special, very emotional. I mean, just watching all the people there and like some are laughing, some are crying, some are celebrating, everybody's taking pictures. And then you're like, oh my gosh, it's done. Like you cannot believe you look back and like, it's like, look how far you've come.
You cross a whole country walking.
Yeah, exactly.
And I always ask, the question, a lot of people, they say the Camino changed you. Did the Mattea that start, walking in San Jan change to the Mattea that arrived into Santiago?
Yeah, of course. I mean, I think it's impossible to walk Camino and not change. If you do it that way, you did something wrong, right? So
Hmm.
you definitely, I mean, when you look back, when we got to we didn't walk to Finisterre, but we took a bus.
That's,
Uh,
yeah, a great
and
choice
when
that
I
I
was
always
there,
say everyone.
yeah, I was looking to see and just being there and like processing everything that happened in the past month. And I was thinking how in the past people think that this is the end of the world, right?
Hmm.
I'm thinking kind of for the pilgrims, it kind of is, at least the world as we knew it before, it
Yeah.
kind of ended. So.
It's so funny because when I arrived there with my friends, we always, this is the wall love, we know it, and that was kind of like the song from Fisterra. As we walked to Santiago, it was like the go west, and then to go to Fisterra was like this is the end of the wall love, we know it, and it's true because this may sound like a cliche, but it really starts a new way of thinking. You are now hooked to the Camino in a way that I'm like, look at you, you're in Mexico right now, visiting friends from the Camino, your Camino family, talking
No, it
now here.
definitely impacts your whole life. Like it changes on so many levels that you never expected to affect those parts of your life, but it really becomes, I don't know, it adds a whole new layer on your personality, on your life.
And for you, someone that is, so used to travel alone, and you were saying, and nowadays a lot of girls, women out there are scared of traveling alone. What can you tell them, in terms of the Camino and also in terms of going abroad to any other place from your experience?
From Camino, safety was really never a concern. A lot of people ask me if I was not scared or is it not dangerous.
Hmm.
I really don't see how anything on Camino could be dangerous. I mean, you're always constantly with other people, and I really didn't have any unpleasant experience in that way. So I really don't see that as something like courageous or brave to go on Camino by
Hmm.
yourself, and I really don't think that any girl or woman should be afraid to do it by herself. I mean, like you said, it's almost impossible to not meet anyone or form a group or something. So eventually, you're not going to be by yourself.
Yeah.
But even if you're passing through well-known routes, through the little villages, through towns, constantly surrounded with people. So really, and people that come on Camino have different. I mean, they're there for a reason. So it's not that they're looking to cause you any trouble. And when traveling abroad, I mean, I don't know. I just use your common sense, be cautious, and you'll be fine. I mean, just the fear is the only thing that you need to. You just I don't know. Once that you're over that, and not anything, nothing really ever happened to me. So
As I think usually, things can happen anywhere. So I guess,
yeah,
once you start traveling, I think that's the best way to use money and time. And now, after 2 years of being in our houses, I think like when I have friends, and when I went to Mexico, I'm like, why are you going to Mexico? You're gonna get, kidnapped. I'm like,
uh,
anything can happen. You can die in the shower when you are anything. But
exactly,
once you travel and you enjoy, you realize that, as you say, common sense, taking precautions,
exactly.
letting someone always know where you are and kind of things just in case, and having that connection with your family or friends.
Exactly. But if you let the fear stop you from everything, I mean, you cannot live like that. So
Yeah, and that's the worst thing. We have to leave.
exactly, be alive.
So you finish your Camino there. You're now visiting your Camino family in Mexico. Do you have any Caminos in the future, or was that a once in a lifetime experience?
Well, that's still a huge debate going on in my head because I really enjoyed it so much that I
Mhm.
would love to do it again. But on the other side, my Camino was so perfect that I'm not sure if I want another memory. I just want it to stay as it is. So I'm really not, not sure still if I would like to do it one day again or not.
There's many Caminos, many different experiences. So who knows? They always say that Camino Frances, your first one is always that, experiences. For
Exactly.
me, I can tell you my first Camino was incredible. It's that experience. But all the different Caminos that I work after that, they are different in so many ways. The group of people that you find, that also, when I did the Portuguese, it was much an older crowd, people that have walked more Caminos. So you have different experience. I walked some Caminos that I've been by myself, almost just talking to the locals, and I was the only people that I can talk. So I don't know, just as a traveler, I will encourage you to maybe look for something different, maybe another Camino somewhere else. There's Caminos all over the world. Probably there's a Camino Santiago in Croatia. Who knows?
We do have one on the island of Kirk, which is right across where I
Oh,
live. But to be honest, I don't like how it
no.
is. uh, yeah, I think it's more to exploit the money than to like that. There is no real story behind it.
Then there's many other Caminos, in Europe and worldwide for you to enjoy. So I'm
Yeah,
sort of, and that's the thing, the Camino sometimes call you, sometimes it's not, and that's the beauty.
exactly. Yeah,
Anyway, Mattea, thank you so much for sharing your experience with that. I'm sure that a lot of people would love to, and they can follow you on Instagram and ask you any questions that they have. Look at the amazing
of
pictures,
course.
and as we were talking, don't be afraid. Just go make the first step, and you will realize how incredible this Camino is and how incredible life is when you travel. No,
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
thank you, Mattea. Buen camino, ultra ya.
Bye,